here we go. Time to talk a little bit about community building. So, hello and welcome to another Rising Tide Talk. I'm Matt, Roleplay Chat Capelli, and today, I spoiled it already, we're going to be talking about project-based communities, building them, maintaining them, and all of that fun stuff. Today, we are joined by an expert creative in the TTRPG space. She is a Emmy-winning game designer, game publisher, and the force behind Golden Lasso Games and Happy Jack's RPG Network. Please join me in welcoming Kimi Hughes to RT Talks today. Kimi, welcome back, I guess. I wasn't here to talk to you when you were doing your your panels, but welcome back.
My solo seminars. Yeah, absolutely. It's okay. I feel like this is nice and conversational, which is always a little bit easier and a little more free flowing, which I really like. So thank you for having me back.
Yeah, totally. So today we're going to be talking about community. And Kimi, I've kind of structured our conversation into three pillars. The first being about building a community, the second being about sustaining that community, and then third, mobilizing that community. So we're going to go through that. Hopefully that takes us about 40 minutes or so. And then there's a text channel, a thread in the RT Talks discussion that Jess has pinned for the audience. If you have questions that you want asked live, we'll kind of reserve the last 15 minutes or so of today's conversation to answer your questions, if we can and if we have the time to do so. So go find that and post your questions in that channel. All right. Let's get started with our first pillar, building a community. So I'd love to know, Kimi, when you were just starting out, what were the first steps that you took to attract people to your projects? And would you recommend others do the same thing? Or do you have like a new perspective on this that you'd like to share with everybody listening?
Yeah, no, this is such a great question. And no matter where you go on the internet, people are asking this about their business or their art project or whatever they're doing, right? Art authors, gamers, whatever, politicians. Building a community is something that's hard to jump into. My advice would be to really think about what you're building the community for, whether that's you as a brand, whether you're a performer or maybe you perform on APs, if you are a game designer, whether you're a publisher. Think about what you're working towards. What is the brand? What is the vibe? And there's a lot of things you can decide about a brand. Like for Golden Lasso Games, like most of my stuff is very much like found family feminist. Like is kind of my vibe. That's not like that's not the tagline for my game company. But when I'm like thinking about a project, I'm like, okay, how does it fit into this kind of like my vibe of my games? And I try and have that attitude with everything I'm building around that community. It's very unabashedly like radical honesty, radical just who you are, just being your brand or being what you want your community to be is absolutely the most important piece. And to do that well, you need to know what it is you're representing and what the thing you're representing represents. So many people worry about getting people into their communities and building it up as fast as possible. That ends up with very big numbers on your Discord server or whatever, but very low participation rates, very low engagement, and very low effectiveness. It's better to have 50 people who absolutely adore your stuff and it speaks to their very soul than have 500 people who vaguely remember that they followed you.
Totally.
Yeah, like that absolute brutal honesty and transparency and just like being clear about it from the start is really, really important.
That speaks to like an authenticity, right? That it's going to be easier for you.
That is the word I've been looking for like 5 minutes. There's a word. I can't. Yes, authenticity. That is 100% the thing.
Yeah, and it's going to be easier for you as a creative, as somebody invested in the community, running the community, to just be yourself and to create the things that you authentically are passionate about. I would imagine.
And you might run into people who don't like what you're doing. Or aren't interested in that. Like there's a lot of people out there who are not interested in playing the games I make. And that's totally fine. Like wish them well and let them go find their island that they can live on. Like only worry about inviting people to your island who belong there. It's so many people early on in their careers and in their building of a community lose that. And they're so desperate to get people in the community that they're willing to to kind of be flexible on what they are and what they want their community to be in order to get those numbers up. And that in the long run is actually something that really hurts and is really a negative thing, because then you have to course correct later and be like, oh, okay, well, if you're not a found family game type person, thanks for being here. We're not making anything you're actually interested in, so you're never around. Like it always goes bad no matter what you're making, whether you're an artist, like a fine artist, or someone's drawing and making paintings or writing or making games or whatever part you are, like being true to those core principles is like the first step to really building a community that will serve you and like support you, and also that are being served by what you're creating.
Absolutely. I love that. That's fantastic. As far as that authenticity goes, I would imagine that sometimes there's a little bit of a clash though between, or maybe not, between the authenticity and kind of the quote unquote strategy of building a community. I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether those things clash, go hand in hand, or if you have strategies to help them work together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of kind of having to decide and figuring that out. Like at the beginning, when I was first building communities, I was very transparent about my life. Like it was a while ago, so Twitter was still the main thing. It hadn't completely gone to shit. So Twitter's bad now. I'm not saying like you should use Twitter, but when I was using Twitter back in the day, like I would literally be like, oh, this is what I ate for lunch. I'm going here today. Like part of that authenticity was me. I decided to bake me and my personality into my brand, which is a choice that you need to realize you're making when you do that. So now that I'm a wee bit older, I have a child, I have a lot of things that I'm trying to keep a little more separate and keep a little personal for like my child's safety and stuff like that. I'm having to be more strategic about how I still share things about my life in a less like internet vomity, here's everything you need to have way. So there's definitely it's easier if you make those decisions up front than kind of again course correcting like I've sort of had to do. And my community has been really great and understanding about it. And again, that radical authenticity, I've been really upfront about it. Like, hey, I now have a child that I need to protect. Putting a bunch of pictures of like me hanging out at the beach now with my kid here is not a safe thing. So they've been really great about that. But because there are all those years of me putting in that legwork and that trust, they're not feeling ghosted by it. They're feeling like, oh, look how responsible she is making these choices.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think I'm peeling a little bit away from your question there.
No, that's fine. It all comes back together for sure.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about somebody starting off? If someone in the audience is just starting out and they kind of wanted to take this first step into building a community around, let's say, their first TTRPG project, or maybe it's the first time they decide to make a community around a TTRPG project. Where should that person begin? Where should they start?
It's a really hard choice now because social media has become so fractured. Social media is generally the first place you jump to with this stuff. And back in the Google Plus days, it was super easy. Like you just like joined a group and everyone was there, and suddenly you'd be there with like Vincent and McGay Baker, and they're just like, hey, and you're like, hi, and suddenly you're their friend. Things are so much more fractured, and people use social media in a different way. They use it in a much more branded way most of the time. My first thing would be, if you can attend, I know the world is a little bit more dangerous. It's hard to go places. Go to conventions and meet people in real life. Like, especially there's certain conventions that are known for design work and for like play testing and things like that. Like starting there is a really great place to start building a community. One of the things I think my community has grown exponentially over the years because I go to a bunch of smaller local conventions and I run my games all the time. My development process for a game generally takes about 4 years because I design the game, I get it playable, I play it with my friends, and then the minute it's like in the beta phase, past that alpha phase, I play it for 2 or 3 years over and over and over again with strangers at conventions. And that serves two purposes. It makes my games very bomb-proof. Like they have been tested by everybody I could think of. And, you know, I get great feedback. My games are better for that. But it also is a very grassroots way to build people who are really interested in your games. And after so many years of doing it, I have people who sign up for my games at every convention, even if they have no idea what the game is, because they're like, "Oh, you're playtesting something. I want to try it."
Awesome.
Because they know that my vibe of game is like what they like and they enjoy it, and they've started recognizing the brand as something that they identify with. So that is number one. In today's day and age, it's hard to do that. I'm lucky that I live in a very big metropolitan area that is driving distance to a lot of smaller conventions. But there's a lot of online events that you can go to and do the same thing. You can run your games on Discord. A bunch of different servers have like open game days or things like that, and online conventions, and do that. And that starts building that one-on-one personal connection that is stronger than just about any other marketing tool out there.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I think when we say the word convention, it's always the big ones that come to people's mind right away. But you don't have to be going to Gen Con or PAX or any of these big name conventions. You can go to your local convention that happens once a year, or one in a neighboring community, like you're saying, Kimmy, that has kind of oftentimes I find that the energy there, it requires a little bit less from you to be there also, like just socially, and you kind of have this opportunity to connect with people one on one.
I actually think those are much better for what I'm talking about specifically, because I like the convention I go to all the time. Has like, depending on which part of the year it's in, it's between 1,500 and 2,000 people. People start recognizing each other. People start recognizing you, and they're so excited when they play a game and it's with the creator, because
Hmm.
creators don't come to little conventions. So then they start thinking of you as, "Oh, you're our game designer. You're the game designer from our convention." So then they see your stuff in stores or whatever later, and like, "This was developed. I helped make this. This was from my convention."
Yeah,
So they start having that the feeling of ownership on you too, and contributing, which is so amazing. And if you go to Gen Con, it's great to run games at Gen Con, but you're never going to get that
hmm
rooting for you hometown feel. Like you're their local designer, just like the local baseball team or whatever. Like, yeah, they're rooting for you.
totally. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I might jump across to another question now. We got a question here from Paradolical, and he asks two questions, but I'll kind of combine them that kind of surround the idea of the local game store. So he asks, how would you go about getting local game store communities involved in a project and sharing work with them? And then outside of the local game store, are there other potential project supporters? Like you were saying, the convention is a good one. Do you have other ideas kind of surrounding that more local community?
Yeah, I've actually in the last few years become friends with a bunch of retail store owners, and I talk to them all the time. Their biggest gripe is when people want to use their store to benefit themselves, but don't actually contribute anything.
Mm.
So these stores oftentimes want people to be involved in their community, just like a small convention. They want people to come run games. They want people to come do stuff. They want people to shop there. They want people to send customers there. They are trying to do the same thing you're doing and build community around their product. And their product just happens to be a retail store rather than a game. And so they get really annoyed when people come in and are like, "Hey, I would like to use your shop for my advertising for my game," and then you disappear and you never help their store again. So it's really like they want to support indie designers, most of them, but they also don't want to just be taken advantage of. So I would highly suggest you say, "Hey, I would love to run my game. I'd love to run a campaign of this, like on, Tuesday night for the next 3 months or whatever it is." And start seeing how you can support their community and embed in their community and support them back. And they'd be much more likely to help you as well, because they want that to happen. They just like the hometown rooting for you. Like, game stores love having a successful design come out of their community too. Like, it makes them feel good. It makes people want to come to their shop more. So it's like a phenomenal thing for them. But if you're just pulling people away from their D&D tables or their regular D&D campaign games that are happening, that's not really helping them. It's sort of just like parallel taking up more space. And you need to also be willing to like pay table fees. Like, don't go in and expect them to, if everyone's like, "Hey, I have $5 to play for the night," or whatever it is, they might waive it for you. Most stores I know waive it for the GMs, but the players still need to pay. So it might be worth it out of pocket to be like, hey, if I pay for certain people to, for people to come, or can I get a discount for people playing my game? And then make sure you buy soda and snacks and stuff from them. Just
Mhm.
don't be the jerk who packs your lunch and brings it in so you don't buy things from the store. Like, don't do that. So like you scratch their back, they scratch yours kind of situation is very, very important for retail stores. The long-term goal with these two is getting good relationships with retail owners are going to get your game once it's published into their store. So if you are a jerk, they will remember and they will never order your game. They have a lot of power in the long run about how successful your game is. So being nice to them, and again, in an authentic way, don't be like, can I cuss on this? I don't know.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
be like kissing their asses
yeah.
just so you can like have your game in their store someday. But also, like, they have long memories and they will remember
Mhm.
if you were the jerk game designer who got mad about something that was clearly not in their best interest, and they will just never have your game ever in stock, ever.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's like you're saying, right? It's this symbiotic relationship that it benefits you to be nice to them, and it benefits them to be nice to you, and you can just kind of work together. I think
Yeah.
that's fantastic advice. Absolutely. Let's now move on to our second pillar about nurturing our communities. So now let's presume that you have this group of awesome people on a Discord server or at your local convention, and you have a email list for them and you send out newsletters, whatever it is that you're doing for the main anchor point of the community. I'd love to know what kind of the quote unquote maintenance looks like,
Hmm.
day to day, week to week, whether that be for one of your like the communities that you are involved in, or just kind of like generic community, whatever you'd like.
Yeah, definitely. Like the first thing you should do is make sure that you always have a very good email list. I realize it's low tech. There's not a lot of back and forth. A Discord server is much sexier, but having an email list is the only thing that can never get shut down and lose your entire community. Like going back to Google Plus and like those communities that got lost forever. And the Twitter being basically like nearly useless now for self-promotion of TTRPG products. So all these platforms that we don't own, always we are at the risk of losing all our work. So whatever community, wherever you've set up your community, make sure you have that email list as a fallback because that is the only thing you own completely. So people might say, "Oh, I'm in your Discord." Be like, "Okay, great." So what I do for my emailing list, and I'm also a slightly hypocrite. I'm not good enough about sending out emails. I'm gonna like own that. But I have like two levels of because you can, depending on what program you use, you can like have different tiers of email lists. So I have the announcements and important stuff, and then I have just the general email list. Announcements are and important stuff are like the people in the community who don't want to hear anything about anything other than something that's really important. Like, don't send me, hey, I'm developing this. They don't want developer updates. They don't want, any of that like fluffy stuff. Look, this new art. I'm so excited. Like, none of that. They want to know, hey, like, our production timeline got changed because of tariffs. Like, this is our new deadline. And they're like, okay, great. Perfect.
The brass tacks, just the bottom line.
Yeah, just the stuff.
Yeah.
And they get like maybe 2 or 3 emails from me a year, but I still have them. I can still reach them. And so that's very helpful. And then there's like the fluffy email is like, look at all the fun updates. And those I like email. I try and do it like once a month. I usually end up like every 2 months, but that also means that people are like not unsubscribing very often because I'm not spamming them. And then I have a retail list. So I have a completely separate email list for retailers. This isn't about that, but just FYI. So that way you own it all the time. Every other space, safety should be your absolute first concern. So having a great code of conduct, terms of service, whatever you want to call it for your Discord server or whatever space you are using so that people feel they're safe. And you need to make sure that you have it if it's like I'm focusing on Discord since we happen to be in Discord at this moment, but you need to make sure that you have your space well modded. So it is better to have too many mods than not enough mods. And people when they start building a Discord server, they start sending codes to everybody. Again, this is going back and circling back to that first question you had. It's better to have a small server that's active with everybody on point and being respectful and like enough moderators than to have hundreds of people in a server who are barely talking to each other or have some toxic vibes and not enough mods to really watch the space. So I think that's the biggest mistake people make when they're first building these online spaces. So really look around, look at the servers you care about and that you feel safe in, and make sure that that code of conduct again goes back and reflects that brand that you have, that is really important to you. And then just checking in. They want contact with you. So it's really important that you're participating in some space there too. I have a really big I have a couple Discords that I run. My biggest one has like 800 people in it. And I have a great mod team there that are just fantastic. I do training with new mods. I don't just like make someone a mod. I'm like, hey, okay, so this is what we do. Here's an example of this. Here's what we do in this situation. Here's how you can reach me really quickly if something needs to happen. This is the second modding command. If you can't reach me, ask this person if you're not sure what to do. They're like the first mate moderator. And so they know what to do in these situations so that everyone feels safe. They feel safe. It's not like they're hanging out like, I have no idea what to do in this situation. So giving that back end training time is really important for anyone who's going to have any level of responsibility or power in your space as well. So I think that's the biggest thing. And there's certain channels in there that I don't check. Like I never will check. Like there's some in there. It's like cute pet pictures. And it's like, I almost never check that page. But I have mods, like we've kind of split up which areas we kind of are all responsible for. Everybody's responsible for everything. We also have a cool ticket program in there, which helps out too. But just making sure, like, if people want to chat with me or have me in a conversation, they know that that's not a channel to posting because I will never respond. Like, they'll tag me and like 2 months later, I'll be like, oh, that one's because I have notifications turned off. Whereas, okay, hey, that was a super kitty. Thanks for the kitty picture 90 days ago. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So just like, yeah. So making it manageable for yourself as well. Don't feel like you have to read or be involved in absolutely every conversation, especially once you get your community to a bigger space. Otherwise, you're going to get overwhelmed and you're going to stop being engaged there. And then it's going to lose that authenticity. Sorry, I feel like I'm talking way too much.
No, that's hey, you're the one with the insights. So I'm grateful for all the ideas. No, this is great. One thing too, I was wondering actually, I don't even think I wrote this one down. As far as like how invested and involved you are in a community, does that change based on like the life cycle of a game or the thing that the community is centered around, or does that still like should it stay the same because you're constantly feeding into this community that is helping prop up your game or product or brand or whatever?
I mean, I guess ideally it would sort of be consistent, but I don't think as humans it's a possible thing. So give yourself some grace with that. Like during a Kickstarter, I am super involved in that community. Like those 30 days, I am on every online platform or outlet or wherever I have, and I am shouting from the rooftops. After that, I generally have like a week and a half where I just like am just like don't want to talk to anybody. Leave me alone. I don't want to type any more messages.
Yeah, you just disappear.
Yeah, just like couch hermiting. Okay, I did it. Okay, good. Great. But yeah, like again, like there's certain like conversations or channels or whatever like platform you're using that I tend to be much more engaged in just because that's something I'm interested in. There's going to be points where you are burned out or your real life is happening, which is why that mod team is so important. I tend to, at the beginning of the week, especially like I was saying, I'm a teacher for my day job. Beginning of the week is very stressful. So I tend not to be super active on like Monday and Tuesdays as I'm getting the rest of my copies made and lesson plans and all that stuff. Like Wednesday, I've caught up and that's just kind of my like cycle. And then like as we ramp into the weekend, I'm really a lot more active. So yeah, you're going to have that. And I think that's okay. And just be honest about it and don't feel like you have to constantly be checking it. That's why that mod team is so important, because this should be something you enjoy and your community enjoys. So you want to, it's like kind of like getting the snowball to roll down the hill. Like you just kind of make the little snowball, you start pushing it. Hopefully eventually it gets big enough that it's rolling on its own and there's conversations happening whether you're there or not. It does take a little while to get to that point, but that's the most important thing. It's like eventually, hopefully they start talking to each other too.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you find and now I'm kind of using Jay Playa's question from the TTRPG Rising Tide community, and I'm adapting it a little bit. But are there specific things in your Discord communities that you find that your community finds the most engaging, that like cat picks or whatever it is? Like, are there certain channels and content that you put into those communities that you find do generate a good like buzz and kind of engagement around?
Yeah, I think my kind of starting off with this, start with a smaller number of channels because the more segmented you make conversations, the less active they're going to be. So, and for example, just recently, my big server, finally enough people were asking for us to break up the TTRPG chat, because like the TTRPG channel, into systems. So we finally did that after like the server's like 8 years old. But like the thing is, the TTRPG channel would just be hopping all day because everyone was talking about all the TTRPGs. It was a little wild, but it made it very active. When you break up that conversation, suddenly people who were interacting now don't interact with each other because they don't play the same systems. So you have to be very careful when you're starting a Discord server to start with like a couple super clear channels, and then as it's needed and as you grow, break that out into more specialized stuff.
Yeah, I see. That's good. No, that makes I wouldn't have thought of that. I think that's really clever too, because sometimes the conversation is what engages people. Even if they're not super invested in writing something themselves, watching other people talk about something, just kind of lurking in the background, can be fun at times. No, I like that. That's interesting. Speaking of feedback though, like people told you to split it up. How do you incorporate feedback into the way that you create a community? Do you encourage it? Does it happen naturally? I'd love to hear your thoughts on community feedback on the community itself.
Yeah, I think you absolutely have to listen. Like it happens naturally, but I also do surveys for it, specifically for my podcast network. Every year or two, I put out a survey about the shows, about, hey, what have you liked? What have you disliked? Because we do little changes every once in a while, and they'll be really clear with you. Don't just make it open-ended. Again, teacher here, so do a bunch of questions on a scale of 1 to 6. Make it 1 to 6, because if you put 5, they always pick the middle one. Having 6 options, like 1 being the least, 6 being the best, or whatever you want it to be, forces them to be on one side or the other, so you get more information from it. Because if everyone marks 3, you're like, I don't know anything. I don't know what this means. So them picking 3 or them picking 4 makes a big difference. And then having some open-ended kind of questions that are optional. But you'll get tons of great feedback that way. I do that for my games too. I send out surveys when people are for people who've play tested. When I'm at a convention, I have a QR code that takes them to the survey so they can do it on their phone right there. Constantly getting feedback. Getting feedback doesn't mean you have to take action on it though. Like I get suggestions all the time for stuff that it's like, no, that's not really on brand for us. It's not really like,
Yeah, absolutely.
I get like whatever, like, okay, you want to play Fatal, great. That's not our vibe. We don't want any of that here. Thank you, please. Or whatever it is. I've never gotten that. It's just a bad joke.
No, but I hear you. You can sometimes get unsolicited advice that doesn't apply. Now I'm having a blank spot, but I feel like we might have had an RT talk about playtesting.
I think you did, because I feel like I remember listening to it.
Yeah. And I remember there is sometimes you get garbage advice.
Yeah.
And that's just,
And again, like that's why like that like everything circles back in playtesting. It comes back to what is your game? What is the heart of your game? In community feedback, it comes back to what is the heart of your community? What is that like authentic thing that is at the center of your community? And you just have like everything should come back to that. And there's a bunch of like weird online, like build your business, like pillars stuff online and stuff like that. I find like they're not very helpful, but like every business has a version of this and you just need to kind of decide it because it makes every other decision you make later easy. Like, oh, I think there needs to be like whatever. Add this mechanic to the game. No, that makes no sense. I'm glad you like that mechanic, but that doesn't make sense for my game.
Hmm.
I think we need to have a politics channel in our Discord. Well, no, I think we're doing great right now. We could like not have that, or whatever, or like, or
Yeah.
maybe a bunch of people want a place to talk about heavy stuff. So you're like, okay, we'll have a heavy stuff channel, but it'll be opt-in and people can talk about their problems. At one point, we added
Hmm.
a COVID channel to my Discord because people wanted to talk about stuff and some people didn't want anything to do with it. So, like, we made it an opt-in thing where people can add themselves to the channel if they want. And it served both groups. People who didn't want to see it didn't have to see it. People who wanted to talk about it and had no other outlet to talk with people did that. Because
Yeah,
if you're successful with your community, it's going to build more than they're not just going to talk about your games. They're going to want to talk about each other and they become friends.
totally. Yeah.
So like, yeah, we actually had a really hard situation a couple of years ago where one of my mods, so amazing, really great guy, ended up with a terminal illness, and we
Mhm.
knew for a couple of years that, and then eventually it like ran its course, and it was really hard, and he passed away. But like the whole community sent emails and stuff we wrote to his family because he had been not able to participate in things outside of his home for a really long time, but he was really important to us and he was really active. He
Oh,
was playing games with us all the time and he was an amazing person. So we all wrote a bunch of letters and had it all sent to his memorial service. So
that's
like,
beautiful. Wow. That really speaks to like the core of what a community is, right?
yeah,
That is fantastic.
yeah. And you have to think about it as a community. It like, yes, it serves to help your games or your podcast or whatever it is, but these are real people making real connections that matter. And you need to be facilitating that more than you are profiting from it. And I think that's really important for a community.
Absolutely. Kind of changing gears quickly with one last question about kind of sustaining the community. I was curious when I was even coming up with the questions for tonight's conversation. When we talk about building a community around a project or around a game, to what extent do you feel it beneficial to have separate communities? Like when do you break a community into two for like two different projects, for instance, versus keeping them together as like a community for a specific publishing company or a community for a specific like you as a content creator, for instance. I'd love to know how you kind of strike that balance. When do you make that decision, if you do, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, there are people who feel different ways about this. I
Hmm.
made this decision for myself many, many years ago that I like keeping, it's a lot of work to build a community. So building a community from scratch for every single project just seemed like way too much work for me. Like honestly, like I'm not sure that there was a lot. Like it also seemed, and now actually this was informed mostly by my podcast. So like I do actual plays, and I was talking with another friend who also runs their own actual play network, and we were kind of comparing notes, and my actual plays were getting a lot more listens, even though like no lie, like theirs had a much more high, a much higher editing quality. Like they were much more professionally edited, all this stuff, and I was like, here's what we recorded in my studio. Have fun with it. But mine were getting a lot more listens, and we kept comparing notes. And we figured out it was because I release all our actual plays on the same feed, while he was creating a new feed and a new podcast for every actual play. So every single show that he was doing, he had to start from scratch. He had to get people to go and subscribe to it. While my actual plays would just pop up in people's feeds who were already subscribed to my podcast. So half the work was already done before a new show even started. And it was people who already liked other products we've done, who liked the vibe of our games, who liked our norms at our table, who liked like the sound of our studio and all that stuff when they listened already. So that just kind of served. And since that day, like it was over 10 years ago at this point, it's a really long time ago. Like I've just always felt like having an umbrella that covers as much stuff as possible is the strategy I've chosen to go with, and it has served me well. For example, I have like my podcast network has one big server and all the shows and all the stuff and the cat pictures, everything go under that. I do have a separate Discord server for my games because not everyone who listens to my podcast wants to play my games, and that's okay. So all my games have like channels and stuff in my game server, but underneath all of it, like there's the general and then there's announcements, which are for all my stuff. Because ostensibly, again, I hate to like keep going back to the branding and authenticity thing, but literally it is the foundation for everything you do in a community. Whether it's advertising for the community, getting people to, creating projects for the community, all this stuff. So people already in that Discord server, already on that mailing list or whatever, like that's why mailing lists work. Ostensibly, if they like your brand, they're probably going to like or at least be interested in looking at the next game you make.
Yeah.
So that is generally my recommendation.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, even going back to your thoughts with the TTRPG text channel and splitting it apart, I feel like
Yeah.
the same kind of analogy can probably be made with Discord servers, with or community, like whatever kind of community hub people are using. It just creates an extra barrier for them to get access to your content, access to the other people in the community, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. It does make me think like maybe if you're going to be doing a project that is a big shift in tone or theme or genre, then maybe that is a time to think. I mean, I don't know. I've never done any of this. You have far more experience than I do, but it's making me wonder if that might be a time to really think hard about whether or not you break off or stick with the one you already have.
Yeah. I think that's very like a very valid point. Like I tend to make indie games that are very much about like feelings and relationships and found family stuff, and that are very explicitly like feminist or LGBTQ friendly. If I suddenly was like, oh, I know, I'm going to make a very hardcore old school D&D, adventure that that is anti-women or something like that, probably one, like, why are you doing this? Like, maybe you should seek someone to talk to about something. Therapy's great. But also like, yeah, I would probably not try and market that to the community I've built up, because they would be like, that is not what we're here for. This is not what we want. Like, it doesn't fit in the umbrella that I've worked really hard to build over the years. And that doesn't mean it's different setting wise. Like, I want to be really careful with that. Like, my first game, Decima, is like a world building game that's like tarot based and things like that. My second game is a sci-fi RPG. And it's like, wow, those two things are so different. One's like kind of mystically, and like one is like very techy. But the heart of the games are very similar when it comes to creating connections between characters and things like that. It doesn't have to be a one-to-one like comparison.
Totally.
If the vibe and the heart of the game is similar, then that's more important than like the aesthetic of it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And for the record, I wasn't advocating for that.
Oh no, I know.
That silly D&D module you were talking about, but I like it's a good example to kind of illustrate that.
Yeah, I was trying to make something as different as possible from something that would be on my brand. So
absolutely. All right, let's move on to the third pillar, and I'm trying to be super conscious of time. I'm looking at the RT Talks discussion channel, and there's only 3 questions in there right now. So I think we have time to rapid fire through some mobilizing the community questions, and then we'll jump to the questions in the chat from folks. So really quickly, Kimmy, let's if you're okay with it, let's do almost like rapid fire mode.
it'll be fast. Yeah, that's it.
Can you share a time when your community really came through for you? Maybe during a Kickstarter or something, and what that looked like.
Yeah, community is so vital for Kickstarters. So, and also the time that Maud passed away was also a big time that happened. And honestly, when I had my kid, in April of 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic, and I wasn't allowed to go anywhere, and I had a brand new baby, and I couldn't go anywhere with my brand new baby. I couldn't show my baby to anyone. I couldn't my community was so amazing and supportive. And like, I didn't want to put like pictures of her everywhere, but suddenly there's this group of people who are all so happy and like being supportive of me as an emotional new mom in a pandemic. And that was just amazing. Like, I don't know how I could have gotten through that time not able to be with my family without my community.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm getting all teared up. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, that's
my community is great. I love them.
Yeah, that they do sound like a real special bunch for sure. As far as some creative ways that you've seen your community members contribute beyond just buying your game? I mean, I think you spoke to it just there with, helping you get through hard times. And then I'm
Mhm.
sure they use the community for themselves in the same way, right? If they're having a hard time, they know that it's a safe place for them to go to. I think that speaks to the strength of the community you've created.
Yeah. They're also great for marketing. Like they play test the games, but then they love the game and they go other places and run the game.
That's fantastic.
So
Yeah.
like there's nobody who's as great at selling your game to other people as someone who loves it and wants it to run for them besides you. Like you are great, but like someone saying, "Oh my God, this game, I love this game. I'm going to run it for you on a Discord server you're not even there, like you're not even on there or at a
Hmm.
convention or something." They go out and they're like you teach them and they teach everyone else and it like spreads out like in this beautiful tree of like sharing your games and that's fantastic.
Yeah. And how would you say you go about, I don't want to say recruiting people to be these advocates because it sounds wrong. I just can't think of a better way of saying it, but how do you take somebody who's like a passive, maybe it's a passive follower on socials or a passive member of your community? Is there something that you feel like you've done to activate them to becoming a more like a more vocal advocate, or does that just kind of happen naturally without much intervention?
Yeah, make it easy for them. Like I have a quick start, they can download it, they can send other people to it to download it off the Kickstarter pages or wherever. So it's really easy for them to access the game, number one. If they have to like email you for a copy and then you can send it to them, but you're like, don't send it to anyone else, then it's a nightmare. Just make a quick start, even if it
Yeah.
doesn't look perfect, so that it's easy access. And then you need to run it. Like people feel so much better running a game that they've already played. So if you're running your game, it's going to inspire other people to run it too.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the quiet passive person. They may not ever be, maybe they never GM anything, but you're going to get those people who are interested in doing that and make it as easy as possible for them. And pay special attention, even in a quick start, to a GM section, even if it's very brief, that makes it as easy as possible to run your game.
Hmm. That's fantastic advice. All right, let's jump over to the live questions. Tim Gray asks, any tips for community building, things you can do if you're not a natural community builder? Example, I know from my personality type and energy levels that I couldn't keep a forum active.
I think right there, like knowing your vibe is really important.
Hmm.
So picking a place where you can be successful. It's not, maybe it's not Discord, maybe it's not, or a forum. Like if you wanted to have a forum, there's some people who do better with actual forums because it's not immediate. Like it's not the constant buzz of a Discord server. So some people make that choice. Some people email lists. So if you are a quieter person and someone who's not constantly looking to talk and engage, have a great email list, send out great emails, have interaction with people on Blue Sky or something that's a little bit more like a one-on-one nature, come up with some like places like that where you can interact in a more one-on-one way with people. That's really important. And also join other communities and participate. Like you don't have to like become their number one fan, but like don't just join and spam. Like join and have conversations with them and get to know people. That's how I've gotten to know most of the other designers that I know, is joining communities and then they share with people. And it can happen without being, you can build community without it necessarily being forward facing to customers as well. And that's a great place to start.
That's fantastic advice. Mycroft asked us a question about separating communities, and I think we covered that already. But I know Mycroft, I know you're listening to us, so if you still have questions about that, please say so, and we'll come back to it. But for now, I'm gonna skip over it. And then Michael Pevsner asks, you mentioned online conventions where you can run games or Discord servers. Could you perhaps give a few names? I did some searches too in the past as well, but my results were very hit and miss.
Yeah. A lot of times I didn't mention names because I didn't want to like just be like advertising my stuff. I was trying to be like vague.
Oh, please. Yeah, go for it.
But the Happy Jacks Discord does what we call game days, spelled DAZE, because I thought it was funny. And now I have to explain it every time. It's much less funny. We do it one every other month. And actually, this week we're doing our online convention where people just post games. So if you go to happyjacks.org/Discord, There we do stuff. People play test stuff there all the time. I know the Magpie Games Discord does open gaming days. I don't know. They used to have days where they let people in the community play test their games. They had a really strong designer community for a while. I can't speak to whether those still exist, but they used to. And just kind of asking around on Blue Sky, those are two of the ones that I know. There's also the Open Hearth gaming community. They are a really great group of people who have a really great gaming community where you actually just go play games with people. Really great safety tools there. I highly recommend them. So those are my like top three, but there's a bunch. So I feel like again, like you have it's not a thing in Discord especially, they tend to be a bit more casual, so people aren't like posting on websites like, "Hey, our game, our gameplay day is this day," because it's already posted in the actual Discord for everyone. So it's much more like joining communities. Most communities have some sort of community play aspect to them. It's just a kind of hit and miss whether you find one that's active or not active or has specific days to play.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know for sure we have something. It's not quite running games, but even in our server here, there's the goals meetings.
Mhm.
Well, so while it's not actively you running your game, it's an opportunity for you to talk to other content creators,
Yeah.
game designers, artists, you name it, and to just kind of share what you're working on. And it kind of starts to instill that sense of community with other people. So I would, if you're not already going to those, I would encourage you to look into it. That could be one small step that you can take in a community that you're already a part of.
Mhm.
And then, like Kimmy's saying, you can go check out her community and invest your time and energy in there to play your game or maybe play other games and learn other games.
Yeah, it's lots of fun. Honestly, too, if you go to the Happy Jacks Discord, there's a bunch of people who play in a lot of different communities. It's a great place to find other communities too. We're kind of like a little bit of a hub now because we have so many people from different places. No one will be upset if you show up and are like, "Hey, I like playing games online. I can play here. Where else can I play?" And you'll get like 15 people all telling you a bunch of different Discords that you can play games at or play test games at.
Awesome. So I think that kind of brings us to the end of our discussion, Kimmy. So I wanted to thank you first and foremost for being here with us to talk to us about community building. I did want to throw the microphone over to you one last time. If there's any last thoughts, parting words of wisdom that you have that's around this topic, and then after you're done giving us that your last thoughts on community building, I'd also love for you to remind us where people can find you, where they can follow you, where they can join your community.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've covered so much stuff. Being true to yourself is really, really important. There's nothing worse than putting a bunch of energy into something that you end up not believing in and something that you don't feel is a great representation for yourself. So just like stay true to yourself and don't, especially when you're starting and like before you're this big community, like don't be worried about pivoting. Like if you lose a couple members, it's better to lose a few people and stay true to your vision and find people who want to follow your vision. That's your group. Stick with them. They will support you. And yeah, I mean, you don't have to be friends with them, but you've got to have that connection with them. So there's a little bit of a difference there. So just fill it out, see what you're comfortable with and just have fun. Like think of them as people, not as a means to an end. And I think you will go far. And yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that's my big advice.
Cool. And where can folks find you, follow you, look at your latest and greatest project, all of that good stuff?
You can find my games at goldenlassogames.com. You can find my podcast at happyjacks.org. I am on it every Saturday. Not this Saturday. Right now we're between seasons. So we've got like 2 Saturdays off where I get to play with my kid. But we do an advice show every week that people write in from around the world and they ask questions about running games, playing games, their party problems, all that stuff. And those are on Saturday nights. And then we generally have 2 to 3 actual plays running at any time. We don't take any ad money or revenue of any or sponsorship money of any kind. It's all just free. We do have a Patreon that makes it so I don't have to pay for the studio air conditioning bill because we do play in an actual studio. But that means that we get to play whatever we want. And we're very honest about it. If we don't like a game, we stop playing it. We don't have to be like, oh, this is a great game because they're paying us.
Mhm.
So it's really just real friends playing real games in a really good studio with nice sound quality. So if that's your vibe, like that's talking about branding, like that's the vibe and branding of my podcast network. Feminist Found Family is my games. Chill, real friends hanging out, playing games is like the vibe of the Happy Jacks network. And you can find that again, happyjacks.org, happyjacks.org/Discord if you wanted to come check out the very active play community we have there for all types of games, and we do all different systems. For me, I'm mostly on Blue Sky. Like I technically have accounts on other places. I don't check them all the time, but stuff gets sent out. But I'm Golden Lasso Girl is my personal stuff everywhere. And then Golden Lasso Games is my company. And then Happy Jacks RPG is the podcast network.
Awesome. So Jess has posted those in the chat here, and if you're listening after, I'm sure we have those links posted somewhere in the description or extra details. So go check it out.
Oh,
Yes, please.
sorry. I just thought of the thing. Okay. Doing all my socials, like my one big advice, no matter what you think of a social network, when a new social network comes out, go grab your name. Like whatever you decide your like community or company name is going to be, go grab it. Even if you never go back and log in again, like grab that name. Just do it.
Yeah,
Just in case.
good advice.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, thank you, Kimi, for being here, sharing your insights. And I highly recommend that everybody listening go take a look at Kimi's work. Be sure to give her a follow on Blue Sky or one of the other platforms that she snagged a name and it isn't doing anything with. And while you're at it, we'd appreciate it if you also gave us a follow. So you can find the TTRPG Rising Tide on Threads and Blue Sky. I think those are the two places we're the most active. And I'd also appreciate it if you spread the word about our amazing Discord community for TTRPG creatives by TTRPG creatives. So if you liked this chat, you probably will like the others, or I'm sure you'll find some great resources here in the community.
I was going to say, I found for my last game that I kickstarted Starscape, I found my layout artist, my editor, all in Rising Tide. So you're amazing.
Awesome. I can't take any credit for it. Jess and the mod community, they do all the hard work. I just come here and have fun conversations with people. But yes, it is a wonderful community without a doubt. If you're listening to us on YouTube, please give us a comment saying something fun, positive. Maybe talk to us about your favorite TTRPG community outside of ours and Happy Jacks. I'm sure you have like a third place somewhere in there, and and give us a like as well. And if you're listening in podcast land, a review also goes a long way. I'm Matt at roll_play_chat on all socials, and this has been another RT Talks. Our next RT Talks will be with none other than Jess Pendley, our beloved community leader and half of the Underground Oracle Publishing. So join us live on the server August 26th at 7 p.m. to talk about world building. I'm really jazzed about that one. That's going to be a fun one. And I think that's everything. Kimi, any last goodbyes?
No, I think that was great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And remember, folks, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
See you next time.